Cam Wilson here. Twitch streamer, internet reporter, TGIFer. Very excited to be with you here today. Thank you all for joining. Alrighty, let's us kick off into the good stuff. Scott Morrison seems very cool and chill about this whole leaked text situation.
Should world leaders feel safe to send you messages from now on? Because this is the claim from the French ambassador back in Canberra that they might now have concerns those messages might be leaked.
Well, let me just make a couple of points on this issue. All the obvious objections and reactions to Australia's decision here have come from all the obvious places for all the obvious reasons. I'm not going to go further.
What does that even mean?
This contract was about delivering the best possible capability for the men and women who serve in our defence forces.
That was not what the question was about.
So the men and women who serve in our defence forces can get on and do their job and keep Australians safe. It's important now that we all just move on, frankly.
Love it. It's all about the troops. We've got to salute the troops, pay tribute to the troops. We're here for the troops. I do think it is extremely funny when someone says, hey, you leaked my text. I'm a world leader. I thought I could discuss these things with you in confidence. And his response is, just move on. What have you thought about just getting over it? Now, I think I should say, like, with the proviso, I'm not super sad for the French. It's not gonna keep me up at night. I'm not gonna be crying that we're not spending, billions with them. Instead, we're gonna spend it with other people. It really stretches my empathy to say that I care about that. Yeah, as Shiny Walnut says, hey France, have you tried not being upset? You should try it if you haven't. But at the same time, I mean, look, international diplomacy stuff can sometimes be a bit overplayed. I certainly don't think people domestically care that much about it. That doesn't mean it's not important, and I'm sure that that will affect how people negotiate with Scott Morrison in the future. I don't know. I just my colleague Charlie Lewis at Crikey today wrote a rower. But what about the troops? J-Dog. French proposal to build a submarine from giant Howard baguette. That was it. They weren't seaworthy. Yeah, so my colleague Charlie, in fact I can pull it up. Charlie Lewis, he wrote about how funny it is. It's just so funny that people who are interacting with Scott Morrison always seem to find their private details end up in the media. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. Just, there was Julia Banks, of course, Brittany Higgins, Joe Biden, and of course Macron. Just our president's, our prime minister, maybe president if we become a republic. Our prime minister's opponent of the moment. Always just these things end up in the media. It's so funny how that happens. To go on from that, so that Scott Morrison comment I think was like 2 days ago. Then we had this today, which I found to be kind of, whoa, go villain. I'm going to address this. I know you're trolling. Good to see journalists are now anti-leak. Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. It's a very simple rule. You leak to me and it's fine. That's how it works. Leaking to other people, bad. To me, no problem. Good. That's good journalism. Look, there's leaking things that are of real significance, but I think the reason that people have kind of taken an issue with this is that they tend to be about domestic political reasons. Because, my understanding of the text is that they didn't actually disprove what Macron said. Yeah, they show that Scott Morrison had started to signal that they weren't super happy with it. They don't disprove the fact that Scott Morrison lied. It's all just being messy. We love drama, and at the end of the day, it's all about content, and leaking text is good content, so maybe I'm pro it. So this is what we had today. A senior Morrison government minister has attempted to blame journalists for the escalation in the French-Australian diplomatic rift. Finance Minister and frequent Morrison government spokesperson Simon Birmingham queried whether it was wise for Australian journalists to have asked French President Emmanuel Macron questions over the aborted submarine deal and Scott Morrison's conduct. Macron, when asked if he thought Morrison had lied to him, replied, "I don't think I know." Asked on ABC Radio if leaking the private messages had been wise, Birmingham attempted to turn blame on Australian media. People could ask questions as to whether it was wise for journalists to pressure the French president in regards to the comments he made. I don't want to get into any sorts of these things. Challenged over describing Macron as being pressured into making the comments when he simply asked questions, Birmingham said he focused on the bigger picture. "I don't think any of these things help us to be able to move forward, which is what I want to make sure we do in the relationship. We have to simply make forward that we get on and make sure AUKUS is a success, as I'm sure it will be." Well, there you go. If only those pesky journalists hadn't absolutely tortured, pressured the French Prime Minister by just asking him a very simple question. You know, they really worked it out of him. They twisted his arms. It was like they practically waterboarded him to get that response out of it. And we all know that the important thing is that journalists should only be doing things in the government's interests. No, they shouldn't be like finding out the way that things are. They should only be asking polite questions that make the government look good. I agree, Simon. Totally agree. Yeah, look, this stuff is still going. To some extent, it is a sideshow. I don't really have anything more about COP26. I really should have, but it's I see still in between it, whether it's big news, whether it's kind of important, whether it's a sideshow, or whether it's just a waste of our time. I'm looking forward. I think there will be more reporting into the whole timeline of it, but it does seem like this French decision was made. I mean, the reason that people pay attention to the French decision is because people are questioning how actually useful it is at the stated claim, so it does actually stack up to what they're saying. And then also it's a matter of credibility for the government so far. You know, if the government signed deals with France for submarines that were so awful, don't they deserve some kind of accountability? Like, you know, you can't just forget the past. You can't be like, well, like, you know, different, yeah, it was a different time. It's not a drastically different time. That's why it does matter. But Constable says, COP26 summary, Australia isn't doing much at all. Yep, we knew that. But other countries actually are so far. Oh, cool. Good to know we're, as one of the richest countries in the world, and as one of the ones with the highest emissions per capita, we're just doing our bit. Okay, it's time. We should talk about this, and I'm very interested to hear what you all have to say about it. Friendly Jordy's defamation case settles out of court. Jordan Shanks apologises to John Barilaro. Former New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro has agreed to settle the high-profile defamation case he brought against YouTube personality Jordan Shanks. Under the terms of the settlement, Mr. Shanks will apologise, pay $100,000 of legal costs, edit the 2 videos, and undertake that he will not publish claims about Mr. Barilaro's private life. Mr. Shanks will also stop selling merchandise which features Mr. Barilaro, including t-shirts and a keychain, featuring a cartoon depiction of Mr. Barilaro as a scrotum. What do the people think? I'm curious to see, what do we got? Well, I am not a lawyer or a legal expert, but I am willing to speculate wildly and pass my own judgment, which is that I would say that this appears to be a win for John Barilaro generally. Now, he didn't pay for all costs, paid for $100,000, and we know that Friendly Jordies has raised a lot of money, so I doubt that he's actually going to be any worse off. But, like, you know, you have to consider the range of possibilities, which is that there is a world in which it went to court, John Barilaro was unsuccessful, and he had to pay costs to Jordan, which would have been a pretty rough thing for him. There's also a possibility that Jordan could have lost, and then he would have had to pay a lot of money as well. Okay, so we have 12 people saying that John Barilaro won. Buddy Card, what precedent is this setting, if any? It's not setting any precedent. I mean, in the literal sense, it's not setting any. I guess we'll see with this Google thing. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. But really, like, I mean, we haven't seen how these videos will be edited. So I'm curious to see how that will be edited. I do think that the fact that Jordan's lawyer apologized for the videos saying that it caused offense, the videos alleged corruption, I do think that, you know, if you thought there was a win, your win would be not apologizing for accusing someone of corruption, because now John Barilaro can say that he had to apologize for his claims. So, I mean, at the end, it's just like, look, you know, didn't go to court, which is, and that, you know, the real loss out of all of this is us, because if this case went to court, we would have got some great content. We would have got people on the stand. We would have got documents. I'm disappointed that we didn't get to see that happen. John Barilaro maybe on the stand. It'd been great for us. So the real wizard was us, ripped for content. And so now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that all the money that wasn't used should go to other proceedings. Yeah, funds will be held in trust and only used for legal fees and expenses. If I recall correctly, I believe that they say that any money that goes over will be used for other legal proceedings. So, and look, Money Not Real High raised a good point. To determine the winner, you got to check how his sub count has gone up because of this. Totally, he got more attention. Thank you, Money Not Real. That's very kind for subscribing. Thank you. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, like, he got a lot of attention out of this, which is undeniably what he wants as well. I mean, any creator wants that. Maybe I should sue someone. I mean, maybe I should get sued by someone, a deputy premier. I do think the fact that he had to apologize for his content is not a huge win, unfortunately. So I would say it's a slight John Barilaro win, but at the end of the day, it's also like, you know, both sides avoided the worst case scenario, which is that you could be left having to pay someone hundreds of thousands of dollars, someone who you probably don't really like. And also, look, you know, John Barilaro isn't in politics anymore. I don't really buy his excuse that it was a friendly Geordies thing. I've heard... Should I say this? Yeah, I'll just say this. I've heard speculation about other factors and to do with it. I have no idea. It could be completely false. And I do know, like, there is one part... thank you, Curvy Gamer Wife. That's lovely.
Freakin' Epic Law win for the Common Sense Brigade.
There is also a... there was one part of the settlement which is very interesting, which is that part of the settlement, Mr. Shanks will apologize, blah, 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 and undertake that he will not publish claims about Mr. Barilaro's private life. Who knows what that could mean? It also doesn't say that he can't still cover what he did in politics. So although he's no longer deputy premier, they may still cover it. So we will see if anything else comes out of that. But yes, overall, pretty close to a tie. But I think just towards John Barilaro. But you know, no big losses for either, which I think both are probably happy about. So you may have seen that Alan Jones, the famed Alan Jones, was announced this week that he was not returning to Sky News. Here's what he's doing. I write in my regular Thursday column to advise you that the management at Sky News have indicated to me that they will not renew my contract, which ends on November 30. I should point out at the meeting on Friday, October 29, I wasn't offered another slot at Sky News, but an alternative offer was made to me to appear once a week on the new streaming service Flash. I declined that offer. Getting an offer to, hey, we'll totally rehire you, except you'll just be on our new streaming service for 1 hour a week, which no one subscribes to at the moment, but it's pretty much, we just want you back in a slightly different capacity. That is about as close as you can get to saying, no, we don't want you, without having the bad press of actually saying, no, we don't want you. So, Alan was understandably he was pissy about this, not very happy at all. And then he goes on to quote, here we go. Earlier this year, you might recall there was plenty of media noise over the fact that my regular column in the Sydney's Daily Telegraph was cancelled. Again, cancel culture going wild. Surprisingly, all sorts of reasons were proffered, including the fact that after 35 years of radio success, I was being told that my work didn't resonate. Surprisingly to me, this led to an article by Crikey, with whom you would be familiar. Now, I really, really wonder, from the bottom of my heart, I wonder who in Alan Jones's audience is also reading Crikey. It doesn't really make sense to me, but maybe it's true. Anyway, he quoted me for like fucking that much text. You know, he should be paying me royalties. How much text he copied there? I guess I do quote from other people as well, so maybe I shouldn't. Carl Sheldrick, do you reckon Jones just searches himself on Google News every day? No, I imagine that he has other people who does it for him. Hey, fuck your username. Very nice to have you here. And people have raised... Anyway, the point is that Alan Jones... I'll just break it down for you. He's got a big Facebook page, but not that many people watch his Sky News show. You know, he has done stuff in the past that has gotten Sky News in trouble. You know, one of his videos about COVID stuff was one of the videos that got their YouTube channel suspended. He's also a threat in terms of their advertising money. So pretty much people were, you know, like, I imagine what happened at Sky News. They said was, well, he doesn't rate that well. Even like his videos for us on YouTube and Facebook don't do as well as some of the other ones, like Rita Panahi or Paul Murray. And he's probably expensive as well. You know, Alan Jones would demand a lot of money. So if we can get people who are doing better than him for cheaper, that's a less of a risk, then we're just going to ditch him. And I think that's what they did. And so they just said, hey, you can still come on our little streaming service if you want. But he wasn't too interested. Which reminds me, we should quickly revisit an uncomfortable time in Alan Jones's history. Disquiet about Jones's attachment to some boys when he was working. This is when he was working at King's, the private school in Sydney. Disquiet about Jones's attachment to some boys grew during a term break when one of the masters found a letter written by Alan Jones to a boy that had been left behind in a classroom desk. In it, Alan spoke of thinking about the boy late at night, expressing his love. While love letters to boys were hardly appropriate, neither were they regarded as smoking gun evidence of misbehavior. This is, by the way, all allegations by 9 papers now. The Age then, I guess the Age still now, but 9 papers. So I'm just merely sharing this with no comments, just for noting. The innocent explanation was that Jones's letters were Byron-esque exhortations of love and inspiration. Jones has spoken of his belief that males should not feel ashamed of expressing love for one another. You mean so much to me, one boy remembers him saying when Jones drove him home. The English teacher often made him a feature of his sensitivity, telling boys he was too affected by human suffering to teach history. Sounds like the guy that we know and love. Nevertheless, the discovery of the correspondence was one more reason to be shot of Jones. The majority of housemasters penned a letter of their own. According to Headmaster Stanley Curl, the letter spoke emphatically of concerns about Jones's influence and control over some boys, describing it as bad, very bad. It goes on a bit. Yes, he was also arrested for public indecency, but I think if reading between the lines, if I understand that correctly, that was just a thing that, probably wouldn't be doing in front of your parents, but was, it does sound like something that was treated a lot more harshly back in the day, but as I understand it, definitely something that is not illegal now or even frowned upon. But yes, the letters, from what that reads, just curious. Very, very interesting. Maybe he'll, I was about to I was skating very close to the defamation line there. We need a button that's just like, no, don't. Ease up, ease up. Hey, how weird is this? I'm going to turn off the music for this. I found this to be completely bizarre. Now, I don't personally have a problem with figuring out creative ways to get people vaccinated. And although I do feel a little bit uncomfortable about trying to make these, do these, essentially outsource some of our vaccination stuff to private institutions. If it works, it works. I'm happy for it. But I just found that so bizarre. Like, it seems like an ad for Bunnings. Like, the graph, and I get what they're trying to go for, but like, I don't know. As Clovioni says, this is like late capitalism. It's dire. I find it to be extremely dire. Just to add it, so even just down to bizarre things like, look at him. He's not even looking at the camera the whole time. I find it to be just a very, very weird choice of content by them. Although, like, do you remember that other one? Let's pull him up. Mark McGowan TikTok, isn't it? What is this? WA's gone too far. What else is in this account? There's only one video. That's really disappointing. I spelled McGowan wrong. Don't come at me. We love the dirty of WA. Oh my god. Okay, let's find his actual account. Meow, meow, meow. 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 Meow, meow. Oh my god. That was, what do we reckon? Do we rate, Mark McGowan's glow up? They said to rain. Oh my god. People from WA are out of control. We've seen that before.
I would never let a man spit in my mouth. I don't know why y'all keep saying, oh, spit in my mouth, spit in my mouth. That's fucking nasty.
I'm not sure how I feel about a schoolgirl doing that. Now, where's actual account? Oh, here we go. 40k followers. That's more than me, baby. Was it this one? Yes, this one. This was... That's bizarre. It's kind of like, do you know, like, there are like a TV show where someone like ends up in like starting a new society because they're stuck together? That's what's happened with Mark McGowan at WA. They've all got Stockholm syndrome from spending too long there, and now they've just like split off and become another species who apparently are deep in love with Mark McGowan. From one bad Premiere meme to another. Oh my god, she deleted it. Oh. Anastasia Palaszczuk deleted her tweet. She had a Does anyone have a screenshot or something of it? Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. So you can see. When they tell you you're unvaccinated, I mean, and did all the red flag tweets, which is just like such an old meme. She did that like, what time? 4:43. And it's now 5:58, and she deleted it. Very sad. Just would have been better if you didn't do it in the first place. That's my take. This was awful. The man wrongly identified as an abductor of Carnarvon toddler Cleo Smith by 7 News says he was deeply distressed by the monumental mistake. Terry Flowers, also known by his mother's name Kelly, had his photo plastered all over social media yesterday in connection with the case of 4-year-old Cleo Smith. He told Nagara Media he was very excited to hear that Cleo had been found at a home in Carnarvon. I rang my partner and told her they found that baby, that girl. We was happy for her. But soon after, while at Karratha Hospital with his own child, he got another call. My sister rang me and told me they've got my photo up for the person who took the girl. When he saw his photo on a social media post, he went to the local police station for assistance. The post was taken down, but picked up by commercial television station Channel 7. We seen it up on Channel 7 Sunrise page. I got upset and went back into the police station. I ended up getting more upset and had a panic attack in the police station. He was so distressed he ended up needing medical treatment. I got really upset yesterday. It put me in a state where I had to come into the hospital. They gave me drugs to calm me down. He says the media outlet should have done its job properly. That stuff is not acceptable. What they did was go straight on Facebook. The first person they seen got through my photos and uploaded on social media and spread it around. Not just in Australia, this is worldwide. He says he's been talking to lawyers about taking legal action. I don't want them to do their job more seriously and professionally, and I'm gonna end up suing them anyways, cause it's not the right thing for them to be doing. 7 News published an apology to its website on Wednesday night. Earlier on Wednesday, 7 News wrongly showed images of a man that were incorrectly labelled as the person under arrest over the disappearance of Cleo Smith. These were removed promptly, but 7 News apologises for the error. Terry said the mistake also had an impact on other family members. It made my partner really upset. We're trying to keep ourselves together to keep our baby strong. My mother, she's really upset. She had people knocking on her door all yesterday. Sydney-based firm O'Brien Criminals and Civil Solicitors are representing Mr. Flowers and have been instructed by him to pursue a defamation claim against the network. The firm previously took action against the Seven network after its Seven program aired images of members of the Yirrkala community who were filmed for a health campaign as overlay for a panel discussion about the abuse and neglect of children. The broadcaster settled the defamation claim and issued a public apology to the community in January 2020. Just awful. And if I'm not mistaken, they were also the ones who... Oh yeah, this is bad. Seven was also the ones who posted... This is... Oh my god, this is only in July as well. They posted 3 black players failed in the penalty shootout, which England lost 3-2 against Italy. Just like awful stuff. And look, I'm sure it was I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt and hope that it was just a really stupid error by someone who's overworked. But like, why is it that Seven... I mean, Seven obviously has a problem with its procedures if this stuff keeps happening. And when you are someone who has as big of a reach as Seven, you have a responsibility to be putting out stuff that is reasonable and checked and not wrong. Buddy Carter's right. They sure do seem to make a lot of similar mistakes on racial issues. It's weird. I also think there's a broader thing about this, which is, to kind of take it out, I resisted for a long time to have a take about the Cleo stuff. I do find just generally how true crime is covered by, in particular, commercial media, but kind of all mainstream, all the big publications in Australia, how they cover it. The desire to cover it, the speed at which they want to cover it, the kind of coverage, and now like all this voyeuristic. Here's Cleo first being saved. Here's Cleo saying her first word. All this other stuff. It just kind of grosses me out. And I guess, like, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of this news stuff is entertainment. That's the truth. People, you know, like, I actually have an issue with a lot of crime reporting generally, because I think that crime reporting, for the most part, like, and I really don't mean this in a derogatory way, but, like, you know, individual crimes don't actually matter to all of Australians as much as other policy kind of decisions, blah, 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 whatever. But we cover it because people are interested in it, right? And it does really well. Like, people love reading it. It does really well on social media. Also, there's problems with crime reporting generally. Crime reporting tends to rely on police narratives that, you know, over people who they allege are criminals and other stuff. And often it's found out not to be true. So it, particularly, like, a lot of people who work on the crime beat rely on police sources, which means that police narratives come out and they use it to promote themselves. And I think that the effect of that is, you know, we kind of get a imbalance in the media where law enforcement and police have their voices heard more than other people, but they're not necessarily always credible. Mark is trying to bait me into saying that we shouldn't report on stuff before it's finished. I don't know about that, because I do think there is some kind of, you know, there is kind of a little bit of merit in, like, reporting crimes, because people may, you know, they may come in with their own evidence and that kind of stuff. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to be a coward and say I'm not going to go that far, because I don't really have that strong of a view. But I do think crime reporting is generally overdone. And I think this is a great example of it. We've just seen so much on it that it's just gross. And I think part of that also means that we're trying to overfit, like, this kind of, like, heroic narrative. This young girl was kidnapped. She was gone for, 19 days. And then now she's saved and she's okay. We don't really know what happened while she was abducted. We don't know exactly what has happened. So this idea that we're all celebrating her being found, of course we're celebrating. I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer, and I did find that, like, I think, you know, it's reasonable for people to be very, very happy about this. But I also think that, like, we don't know what happened to her, and she's probably going to be dealing with a lot of, I guess, like, baggage and resulting trauma from this. And so this, like, she's saved, everything's good, and, like, in this triumphant narrative, like, you know, like, it's the hero who saved the day, makes me feel very, very uncomfortable. And I think we covered it too much. So, but hey, look, you know, people want to read it. And some of the stuff, I just did a TikTok on this. Some of the stuff on TikTok in particular and across social media was fucked. Like, people wildly speculating, saying, I think it was the father. We had, like, psychics, like, being like, I know where she is. All this stuff that is just awful, and people using a potential tragedy that's ended up being, like, you know, it's had a happy-ish ending, but again, we don't really still know the full story. But like, people using it for their own gain. And that's the thing, like, I'll be critical of the media. Media are using it for their own gain as well, because they know people are interested in it and it gets clicks, so they do more of it. So that's how we end up with articles being like, you know, that one that I tweeted today, which was that police officer missed child's graduation because he was working so hard in this case. Okay, cool. Like, who cares? I mean, people must care. It was popping off on social media, but it just isn't really that important to me, I don't think. Curvy Gamer Wife just said there's going to be some fucking true crime podcast about this shit. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I found kind of gross is I literally saw TikTok accounts that became famous because of Gabby Petito, who I don't know if you remember, she was the US, she was the missing young influencer in the US who turned out to have been murdered. They literally pivoted into doing Cleo Smith content. Like they're people who just exist to just share stuff about missing people, which just to me feels so gross. Like your existence is just promoting these random cases just because it's making you famous. And I find that so uncomfortable. Anyway, content is content. You know, maybe as someone who believes in content at all costs, maybe I should support the hustle, but I found it fucking weird. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. This is a bizarre story. An Australian COVID-19 vaccine maker who has earned the support of anti-vaxxers for his disparagement of other approved shots has crowdfunded nearly $300,000 to apply for his invention to be approved by medical regulators. And yes, I did wash my hands very, very well with soap. So Nikolai Petrovsky is facing being laid off because says he's taken his own vaccine, but that has not been yet approved. And he's refusing to take the other vaccines, because he says he doesn't know how that's going to work out. So at the moment he's in this awkward position where he's like, I'm vaccinated, I swear, but the vaccine I have hasn't actually been proven to be working, and very, very awkward position. So what's kind of interesting is like, this guy is not like, to be clear, is not like a crackpot. Like, he is a legitimate scientist who has spent years and years working in the industry. He appears to be very, very pro-vaccine. He has a company that produces them. You know, he's well known. He's spoken on it and stuff in the past. This is like, you know, we can never really know for sure, but he does not seem like it does not appear from all the evidence that this is that this guy's a crackpot who doesn't know what he's doing. He is someone in the field who is respected. So he has invented this vaccine that, if approved, would be the first and only locally designed vaccine. More than 16,000 people in Iran are taking part in phase 3 trials. So there are 3 trials that vaccines go through. First one is very, very small with volunteers, and the second one is a few more. And I think the total of his first 2 trials was about like 450 people. And they're mostly for safety. So it's not like it's not like he has proven that it works so far. He's just, with this small trial, proven that on those people that it is safe. And the complicating factor is that the results of those trials have not been like published broadly in a peer-reviewed journal. They've not been scrutinized. So he just says trials 1 and 2 have gone well. We're in trial 3. He says things are going well in trial 3. He and other people who've spoken to him say that it's been very effective. He claims that it's more effective than Pfizer dealing with Delta, but they are literally, they started this phase 3 trial with 16,000 people in August. It's supposed to go to May. It's now been approved in Iran, an emergency approval, but again, it has not been yet approved like in Australia. I have to be honest, I don't even know I don't even know what the process is to have an emergency approval in Iran, but I do know that phase 3 has not yet been completed. So it's not like he could say it's really been rigorously tested. So that's kind of what we know about the vaccine. Meanwhile, there was a deal that he had that fell through to buy the company and essentially distribute the product. We have no idea why. It was chalked to a variety of reasons, but that's not super important. Since that happened, he has now started a GoFundMe to raise money for approval for getting the vaccine approved by the TGA. But while he's been doing that, he's become like super, super critical of other vaccines. So he's been calling them gene therapy, which other experts say that they're not. he's been fear-mongering about the side effects of AstraZeneca, despite the fact that, yes, there are some, no one's denying that, but he's saying that his is safer, despite the fact that so far, his has actually only completed trials of less than 500 people, whereas AstraZeneca, Pfizer have been literally in people's bodies, millions of people's bodies for a lot longer time. And an important thing is that his vaccine, the one that says that he has created, is kind of it's not like the mRNA ones, which are these new ones that kind of have been, essentially pioneered for COVID. Now, they've been tested, but he's saying that, well, like my ones, which are based on older forms of vaccines, therefore are more trustworthy because they're based on previous technology. But the problem is, like, it doesn't exactly work like that. Like, it's nice that kind of happens, but like, I mean, he can claim that, but like, when you're messing around genes and stuff, even little things or even slight variations can have unintended consequences. The point is, like, I don't want this to seem like I'm saying this guy is a crackpot. I don't want this to say like I'm saying this guy's vaccine won't even work. It actually could be an extremely effective Australian vaccine that ends up being a great thing. The problem is that the way he's going about this is he's now talking shit about all these other vaccines. He's going around proper approval processes, which are set up to protect people, to stop crackpots from doing things. And that is now being used by people who are anti-vaxxers. So, he's been on these podcasts which have repeatedly, he's on Discernible, which is a big Australian one now, that is repeatedly, undermining faith and focusing on the downsides of vaccines, despite the fact that they're proven safe and effective. People like Pete Evans, Craig Kelly, Rod Cullerton, John Adams, Ricardo Bossi, who's an Australian conspiracy theorist. They've all promoted clips of him saying, I'm worried about things. This is unprecedented. Like, him undermining faith in vaccines, because he is giving them exactly what they want. He is saying, I'm a vaccine maker. I know things so well, and these are dodgy. I believe that he still has, I spoke to him, and he clearly is a guy who's not completely, like, away with the fairies. And, I spoke to another person, Paul Griffin, who said, in June, so the middle of the year, he wrote about this vaccine being like, it would be great if this happens. Like, I feel good about this. Great to see another Australian group at the forefront of COVID-19 research and particularly vaccine development. But his recent antics have just been kind of like, just ridiculous. They've been undermining faith, and like, he has such a conflict of interest, which is that if this goes well, he could stand to make a lot of money. Now, that would be great for him, but it may never get to that. Like, the trials that are happening right now may actually show that it's not effective, or that it's not safe, or something like that. If that's the case, he's undermined faith in other vaccines, and yet may end up having something that does not work. And so, I'm not saying he's an anti-vaxxer. I'm not saying that he's even sympathetic to that stuff. He just said, if people take my words that way, what can I do about it? But he is saying things, and he's approaching things in a way that is being weaponized. And I really do think that, like, he's taking advantage of people saying, oh, we need an Australian vaccine, we need all this stuff. Like, I mean, it'd be great to have an Australian vaccine, but not at the expense of the regulations, the systems that we've got set up to try and protect us. And here's the thing. We actually, like, it would be great to have another vaccine candidate, but we don't need it. The idea that we should have to cut corners now is crazy. We don't need to. We're very, very happy with Pfizer, with AstraZeneca, with all the other ones. The idea that the fact that he's calling this one safe, despite the fact it has not been proven yet, and other ones that have been proven to be safe, it does not appear like, I think that there is, people have raised concerns at what it is doing to how people are thinking about vaccines. Anyway, I'm getting a lot of hate mail for that. People messaging me saying that I'm extremely unethical. And I, you know, like, to be fair, you know, people have said, well, you know, you've tarred him with the brush of anti-vaxxers. Which is, I mean, fair. But, like, and to some extent, he actually cannot, like, oh, hey, Bob and Fred, and welcome to people who've come with them. This guy, like, is letting him, he's speaking and using things in a way that is helping anti-vaxxers, and he could be doing this in a way that doesn't do that, and that's why I think it's worth pointing out. I'm not saying he is. I really hope that it ends up being successful, but I'm also not really enjoying the fact that people can't accept the fact that his words are being used, I think, to make things worse for us. Let us look at some good Halloween costumes. Kerry, Chan, and Gladys. I thought it was quite a good one. Well, actually, so Rabacool has referred back to he's gonna earn the trust of anti-vaxxers and get them vaccinated. I mean, like, the thing is, some people have said that. Well, maybe this will get people on board. It won't. People don't want to get vaccinated, don't want to get vaccinated. And all it's doing is giving them the credibility of someone who is an expert in the field, who is saying other vaccines aren't good. I guarantee you, almost like no one out there is being like, well, now that they're not mRNA, I totally trust these vaccines. They'll find some other reason. Ridiculous. That was one Halloween costume. This was a good one too.
Go and chill because you've stressed me out.
Alright, I'll go and chill. You just throw money at Wagga.
I'll throw money at Wagga. Don't you worry about that.
Just listen to
Lots
me.
of it. Alright, and I'll throw money at Wagga. You just have to do what's right.
Gladys. Oh. Not going so well for you. Sorry, Gladys. And I really enjoyed this one as well. So good. I'm definitely the latter. I'm definitely the looking fucking weird. Okay, final thing. My last one was that here's another, I want to share with you another TikTok style that if I wanted to go viral all the time, I would do. What it is it's a female streamer who films herself having people ask inappropriate questions to her, and she doesn't or pretends not to know what's happening and then reacts to it.
Dab 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 if you're pregnant.
Oh.
What do you and a Happy Meal have in common?
What?
You both come with a toy inside of you.
Okay.
There are literally I know there's this other creator, Angel Melly, who I've spoken to for articles. She does it as well. And it's all just like this exact thing, and every single one of them gets like 2 million views.
Wait, what?
Later. What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Why did the blonde get fired from the M&M factory? She kept throwing out all the W's. Eat the banana like you always do with those.
In fact, she might actually not even be like, this may not even be a real stream. So the other one I showed you, Angel Melly, I'm pretty sure hers are real.
Mommy sorry, mommy sorry, mommy sorry, mommy sorry, mommy sorry.
You spam it on my.
Are you a Macca's fridge because I wanna put my beef in you?
What?
Every single one.
How did I not get that at the start?
You've changed, Melly. You
Every
used to
single
post
one.
thirst traps on Instagram. Now you haven't posted in 5 days.
They are ridiculous, but every time, look, hundreds of thousands of views. So, I'm pivoting to this. That's what I'm going to be doing from now on. Not really. Okay, that's it. I'm done. TGIF, everyone. I've had a great time. Thank you all so much. That is my little tip for how you want to go viral on TikTok. If if you want any advice.